Engine 1 for Car 1. Car 1's on scene. Assume in command. Give me a CAN report.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Goldstein, Stickers of the CAN Report. Nozzle Tov, everybody. I have a great guest this afternoon. You know him by his mustache. You know him by his book. He's been making the rounds with a fantastic new book. He's actually done great things as an author. It's not a leadership book, everybody. So I'll preface it with that. I have Samson DeSessa. He is in the house. Thank you so much for being on the CAN Report.
Howdy, y'all.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you being here. I've been reading your book. You're doing great things, talking about brotherhood, talking about leadership, and spreading the good word. And I wanted to get you on here for people to know who you are and what your book is about.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm honored. Thank you.
Absolutely, my friend. So I'm going to dive into, before actually I dive into that, I'd like for everybody, if you haven't, please click the like, the subscribe, the whatever you need to do to show that you're following me, to show that you're getting something out of it. Shoot me a message if there's something you want to see different, if you want to hear different, if there's a guest that you think you'd like to have on, or if you got something that you think is important, let me know. We could work it out. I also want to give a shout out to my sponsor. I have Engine House Designs. He makes some really cool hats. Chore coats. He makes flags, one behind me, baseball caps, stocking caps. You need it, he's got it. So check out Engine House Designs, Igniting the Pride. Also, I want to give a big shout out to the Kitchen Table Foundation. The Kitchen Table Foundation is a fantastic foundation that helps, like what we talked about, like people who are struggling mentally and need somewhere to go to talk. That's their mission. The Kitchen Table Foundation, the board there has been doing great things. They're teamed up with Next Rung and IFF, and they're trying to get help to military, to vets, first responders. Check them out. The Kitchen Table Foundation. You can find them online, Instagram, and they have a great website that actually goes in detail about what they're doing and how they're providing services for us. So make sure you check them out. That being said, sir, I'm going to jump in right into your bio here. Samson Mufasa DeSessa is a combat vet. He has served in various roles over the last 33 years, including U.S. Air Force serviceman, private security specialist for private military contract organizations, firefighter, explosives technician, and designated defensive marksman. He is currently the fire chief at Naval Air Force Station Fort Worth. Samson is a public speaker and has been presenting for Texas A&M's Engineering Extension Service, TEEX, in the Leadership Development Program since 2008. Wow, you've been around.
Yes, sir. I have ADHD and I can't sit still. That's really the crux of it. It's nothing special. My ass just can't sit still.
It's great though. I mean, that's you've done a lot compared to a majority of other people out there. It's very impressive of the things that you do, and 33 years of doing all these amazing things, serving our country and being a firefighter. So my hat's off to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You guys are worth it.
So we'll jump right into it. Brotherhood is a verb. Now, how and why did you come up with this?
The honest truth of it is I had no intention of becoming a book writer by any means. I'm not an author. I didn't spend time in high school or college, getting better at writing so that someday I could publish a book. It wasn't anywhere on my radar. I've been the fire chief at Naval Air Station Fort Worth for about 2 years. And for about 3 years before that, I had the privilege of working underneath the fire chief before me. And his name was Matthew McQuake. He retired, moved out to Florida. But he had, over the years, he just told me, that you got a lot of lessons, a lot of things that you're sharing with people. You should jot them down. And then eventually it kind of became, you should create a PDF book or something, or you should, anyway, it just kept kind of becoming, hey, you should write a book. You should write a book. You should write a book. And which I thought he was just being a little tongue in cheek about it. But then he asked me one time, like, hey, how's that book coming along? I said, I'm not reading anything right now. He said, no, you're supposed to be writing a book. So he's a mentor. And when a mentor tells you write a book, you write a freaking book, right? And so I originally just created a Word document that I figured I'd turn into a PDF, give to my kids, leave my lessons behind, and sent him the manuscript, and he asked him to write the foreword for me. And he said, I think you need to turn this into a book. But so
that's awesome. And there it is. And so if everybody is not curious, doesn't know what we're talking about, is brotherhood is a verb. And it is not just another damn leadership book. So there you have it, guys. It's not just another damn leadership book. I love actually that you put that in your description right on the front cover, because some people get really turned off. Like, oh, great, another leadership class, another leadership book, telling me how to be a leader, la, 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 la. And it becomes becomes recycled material. And I think people shy away from the leadership's books because they're dry. And as I was reading this book, it's not dry. It's full of your experiences as you were in the service, in the fire service, military service, and you dive deep into some real stuff. So you have real life experiences in here. How difficult was it to really like open up in a book, putting down your most deepest times, darkest times inside this for everybody now to see?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know if you've written some things before that you had to put yourself out there, but it sounds like you maybe have. And you're right. It is extremely raw, extremely transparent, putting it all out there like that. And honestly, as soon as it was released, I had the biggest vulnerability hangover. I was like, holy
What did I just do?
And I talk about things like getting pretty close to suicide and, uh, almost drowning, what that felt like, and just a lot of things in there. So for those of you who haven't read it, maybe each lesson, I call them lessons that are chapters, and they open up with a story, and that story builds upon the lesson that I learned from that experience, whatever it be. And so there's 20 of them packed in there, and you're right, absolutely. Some of them are kind of comical, and some of them are pretty raw, and some of it is a little bit dark. And ultimately, I felt like if I've gone through these things, somebody else may have gone through these things. I've had people that when you become vulnerable and you share some things with them, I've had people kind of break up and they're like, "Hey, I like that's just weird stuff, man. I don't want to hear about all your stuff," and they kind of freeze up. And but then there's other people that are like, "Man, I totally relate with that," and I want to reach those people, the ones that have been where I've been before, that can look at it and maybe they weren't in the military, maybe they weren't in the fire department, maybe they haven't had the experiences in the fire department, maybe they're early on in their career, maybe they don't feel like they have a reason to feel down, to feel like they earned the title of PTSD or those kind of things, which of course is just twisted and has nothing to do with anything really. It's how we process things, right? So I wanted people to be able to glimpse at the fact that here's somebody who's done a lot, who has had some pretty gnarly experiences, came out on the other side, and that's a dude's dude, right? I mean, at the end of the day. So I want to encourage other men, and the book it's called Brotherhood. It's for everybody. Brotherhood being morale, being esprit de corps, but just the fact that somebody who's kind of rough and tough and a bit of a bruiser can go through those kind of feelings as well and come out the other side. And
I
be
love
strong.
it. I think that you hit it right there too, is that to show emotion, to show that you're vulnerable, to show that it's okay.
We're human.
Right? We're human.
You do go through these. You can hide it. You can pretend you don't. You can put up the tough routine, but eventually that's going to crack. And the longer you wait, when it cracks, it's going to be catastrophic for you. But that's what happened to me. I denied until the ship hit the sand.
Yeah, and you go into detail about that in your book, in the beginning, about how you're hitting rock bottom, and that you reach the point of your darkest times, and again, being so raw and open in that book is impressive, and it takes a lot of guts to do that. And like you said, we all seem like big burly dudes covered in tattoos. Your incredible stash. Your muscles about to rip through your shirt. People think that well, this dude's not going to feel any pain, and he's never going to be open about his personal problems. But when they see people like you, I think they realize it's okay to do that. And I think that's great that you put that in your book, but then you're also out there in the public saying, yeah, man, like I've done some bad shit and I've seen some bad shit, and I'm still here to tell you, like, it affected me, and I'm okay to talk about it, and I'm working on myself.
Yes, sir. That was important to me because if I'm going to talk about the look how cool I am experiences, the only reason that I would put that in there is for one, and that's to share that, yes, I've done some pretty cool stuff, but here's how low I got. So it's not, as you know, it is not a bunch of war stories in there that make me look cool. A lot of it's probably the opposite, to be honest. I'm sharing the lessons that some of them were very hard earned. So I think that's what resonates with people in here. That's what I keep getting feedback on, is just how honest and transparent and raw that I am there.
You have some really good, I see in your front page, Steve Lasky gives you a great review on that in the book. That's impressive. That's incredible. And then you have Matt here, right? He's the one that pushed you to do it.
Wait, yes.
Yeah. And then you have T.D. Smyers, Captain of the United States Navy. You're getting really good feedback from that. But from what I've seen online, that's why I wanted you on here, is everybody who's read your book, who's picked it up, just have glowing reviews on it. And I think more people need to see it, and they need to read it and understand that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay for everybody here. That's what I love about this, is not just an officer book. You're not talking about officers. You're talking about people that actually need to step up and be good for each other.
Yes, sir. That's really important to me, is that people understand that leadership is everybody. We're all leaders in some capacity. If you're a mom and you have kids, you're a leader. If you're, you know, a single parent, you have kids, you're a leader. If you're in a church group, you're step up, be a leader, greet people, whatever. In every single aspect of your life, if you just simply step up, that's so much more than other people are doing. You have just taken on a leadership role.
So
So
from your experiences, though, what made you want to start doing this? So like, what is the biggest thing? Like, you mentioned that you had somebody who was a big influence in your life that pushed you to write the books, but like in your life, in your service, like say for the fire service career, who is that mentor for you? Who is showing you how to be a good leader? Who is showing you how to be a righteous person?
yes, sir. So I've had a handful of them over the years. I talk about one of the sergeants, Brett Wanty, that saw in me the ability to break down complex, you know, uh, subject matter and make it simple and digestible for people. And so he was one of the huge ones. I had a guy, Ricky Brockman, that was what you guys would call a battalion chief for me down in Honduras, that saw some potential in me and forced me into a leadership role and really pulled me out of my comfort zone a bit there too. And one of my major mentors, and he's still to this day, is of course Matt, the guy that challenged me to write the book. He lives out in Florida, but we still talk on the phone. And I have kind of a theory that at all times to have one and be one. And so I'm always a mentor for somebody, and I always have a mentor as well. So being a mentor keeps me sharp because I have to stay current, and I have to, stay in the books and learn and discern and then break down, the best information to get somebody's time value out of it. And then at all times I have a mentor, and that's what kind of keeps me humble. And, like I said, I had no desire to write a book whatsoever. So part of me was like, I'm not going to do this. And had I not been challenged by a guy that I respect so much, I probably would not have done it. I had every excuse not to. About halfway through, I vented to my wife that I'm done with this shit. Nobody's going to read it anyway. It's really a waste of my time. And she was like, well, I think you need to wait about 24 hours to make that decision. You know, so it exists today
Now,
because
from those people, I love it. And I think it's cool that you have not just one, but it sounds like you have quite a few people that were very inspirational in your life and
right now I have
influenced you
5
heavily.
people that I'm mentoring, and I have 3 people that I have as mentors.
Now, I didn't ask in the beginning, just came into my head. Why is your nickname Mufasa?
So that is after the 20th lesson there, kind of a prologue, if you will, sort of. But I put the story in there. It's called Call Sign Mufasa. And it's because I get that question quite a bit. Where did the Mufasa come from? And just to surmise it real quick, I hated it, man. And there's a huge difference between a call sign and a nickname in the military industry, right? So in the military industrial complex, somebody who has a nickname, that could be anything. You did something goofy, they give you a nickname. You did something amazing, they give you a nickname. You're too tall, you're too short, you get a nickname. But a call sign is given to 2 types of people. It's given to pilots and it's given to combatants. So combatants usually have to earn it in some way during a combat situation. So I was working for a private military contractor, and we were at a sort of undisclosed location, and there were some people that were being held hostage or trafficked, and we were going in there to just get those people out. So we all convened in a gym somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And these special ops guys come through, and you can tell the big old beards and this and that and whatnot. Obviously, they've been in the field for a while. And so we meet these guys real quickly in the gym, and then they take off, and then they come back. And he had asked, he said, what's your name? I said, Sam. He said, dude, I don't give an F what your friggin' first name is. What's your last name? And I said, DeSessa. He's like, all right, DeSessa. So you're going to be my alpha team. So, okay, great. Comes back in. He said, where's my alpha group at? So, yeah, we're over here. So we convene, we're taking off, and I take this elevated position, and my partner and I are overseeing this area, and the breach crew is about to breach, and there's a little bit of light cresting over this, uh, you know, this city, and it looks really amazing. I just happen to catch that, and then I hear the gunshots. So from the inside of the room they're about to breach, Somebody must have seen. And so they're shooting at our team. And through my earpiece, you hear it fire up and he goes, Odessa, Mufasa, whatever your effing name is, light them up, and so then everybody was, obviously thought, oh, that's hilarious. You're going to be Mufasa from now on. And so I'm around all these big, gnarly dudes like Tank and all these guys. And so I get stuck with this like cartoon handle. And I didn't like it. I wanted to redo, but, it works, man. So, so my partner ends up dying and I end up just saying, I want out of the PMC world. So I came here to this installation, the Fort Worth Naval Air Station as a firefighter and to work my way up to fire chief. But when I first got here, I met another guy and his name is the same as my brother's family name. So this guy's name is Gene. And I said, hey man, what is Gene short for? And he said, it's Eugene. I said, Eugene? I said, man, that was my grandpa's name. He was Eugene Robert. And so Gene says, I'm Eugene Robert. He said, I'm the third of my name. I said, well, my little brother's Robert Eugene. He's like, what about your name? It's Sam? I said, yeah. He says, that's short for Samuel? And I was like, no, it's short for Samson. He said, Samson. Damn, man. That's like naming your kid Mufasa or some shit. So at that point, I just embraced it. I was like, okay, I've got this thing twice. It is what it is, man.
That's hilarious. You don't meet many Samson either. There's not a lot of Samsons in the world. So
Not a whole lot.
I do love that. I love
And usually
Samson.
they have the P in the name, so it's like Samson.
I mean, Mufasa is really not that bad. I mean, actually, I think it suits you, man. I think it's a badass name for sure. You could have stickers.
You're right. You're right. On point. Once I embraced it, I was like, okay.
You just got to embrace it, right? Because if you don't, you fight it the whole time. Then that's all you do. And then the people just bust your balls even harder.
Oh, they're gonna do it 10 times as much, right? So yeah, I was just like, cartoon lion. I'm working with this dude called Spectre and everything, and I'm working with these guys. I wanted something cool, man. I want to do some cartoon ass lion. Now I just know that.
I love it. Yeah. For me in the fire service, when I started in my previous department, everyone's like, you got to have a nickname. Everybody has nicknames here. We had one guy, his name is SpongeBob because his family owns a burger house. So his name was SpongeBob. Another guy we named T-Rex because he's short and his arms are wicked short. So you can never really get things from up high. So they called him T-Rex. And so for me, they're like, what are we going to call him? And it took them a while. And finally, one day, somebody came up to me and said, hey, your tattoos look a lot like stickers. And then somebody just said, you know what?
Okay.
That's going to be your nickname. I'm like, really? That's not really badass sounding at all. It's really stupid, but it's stuck. So that's me, man. I'm stickers.
Yeah. That's awesome. As far as T-Rex, we had a T-Rex also. It's kind of funny that you mentioned that because every time it was time to pay, like we'd go out to eat somewhere, his arms are too short to reach the bill. You know what I mean? So
couldn't get his wallet.
Hey, all right, you get the bill.
Love it. So I was reading part of your book too. There was something that really stood out for me. I love how you start talking about the currency for relationship. The relationship capital.
Yes, sir.
Did you just pull that out of thin air there and go, you know what? Buy-in is buy-in, and we got to start developing that currency.
Yeah, no. So, the first time I heard of leadership capital was Jocko Willink, the guy that wrote Extreme Ownership.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Navy SEAL commander, et cetera. Wrote it with Leif Babin. Anyway, they kind of introduced the topic of leadership capital, and I just took it a step further, not to echo chamber what they were already talking about, but for me, I could get leadership capital from wearing my bars, wearing my rank. At the end of the day, that'll give me compliance, but it won't give me buy-in. And so the real value in your leadership capital comes from your relationship capital. So if I work with Mike and Mike trusts me, then when I tell Mike we need to do something, he knows it's coming out of a place that I've earned your trust, your respect. So I have influence with you. And so you're going to be more apt to listen to me if we built some relationship ahead of time, this whole theory of connect before you correct kind of thing, right? So if I'm just running around with my rank and I'm telling people what to do all the time and I'm micromanaging, it's exhaustive, or people are just complying with the minimums every day, but nobody's really growing and nobody's really has this desire of growing your culture or becoming better. So if you want that kind of a culture, you got to go deeper. You got to get those relationships built. You got to invest in that relationship capital that will earn you more influence for your leadership capital account. And so every interaction you have with this person is either a deposit or a debit. you're either depositing into that relationship or you're pulling something back from it. So if I'm a leader and I got to write somebody up, take a little debit right there, right? Because, it can hurt the relationship a little bit. Now, if we have years of relationship capital built up in there, I'm not going to go into the red. I'm still going to be in black. In other words, we still have positive relationship and I still have positive leadership capital with you. But if I rarely come around, you only see me ever so often, and the only time you see me is when I'm chewing you out, writing your ass up, then every time it's a debit, it's a debit, it's a debit. You're way in the red. I have no influence with that person whatsoever. I can get compliance because at the end of the day, you're going to do what I say. I'm the fire chief or I'm a battalion chief or I'm a whatever. You're going to do what I say because I have legal authority over you. Well, you can lord that over people all day long, but again, that's only going to get you the minimums. It's not going to get you any sort of buy-in.
Right on, man. Spot on. It's such great stuff. That's why I love asking these questions here straight from the horse's mouth to get more of that insight on it. And like I said, I've been chipping away at this book, and every chapter I get something more. What I like about your chapters too is you end it with the follow up, the little snippets of the synopsis of the chapter, what the takeaways are. I think that's really key too. So you can take that almost and when you're done with that chapter, if you want to have a little powwow with your crew as well, you can use that to start talking about it. You got the what's, the so what's, and the now what's to really break that down to what you just read. And then, if you miss something, go back and go, wait, what the hell was he talking about? Oh yeah. Okay. And then go back into it and break it down. I love, again, I am just I don't say I'm just a firefighter. I am not a brainiac. I am not an incredibly smart person. So the way you write this book makes it very, very easy for everyone to follow through and to read it and absorb that information, that material. And I really love how it flows. Reading your chapters, you did say that you're also on various mental health committees. How did you start those? Or how did you get into those?
Just reaching out to those people. And sometimes they'll reach out to you, and it's just being willing to do it. We brought in a lady into our department to give some basic peer support training, and we grew our team by 6 more people. Originally, there was only 2 of us. It was myself and one of my assistant chiefs and Eugene, the guy we were talking about earlier. We were the only 2 for years. And as our department's grown and our culture has changed and we see more people see more value in it, there have been a group of people that have used both of us as peer support, regardless of our rank. We have guys that were supervisory, we have guys that are non-supervisory, we have guys that are, burning unit, whatever. But because of that relationship capital, earning me that leadership capital, they trust me and they know that I'm not the gossip. I'm not the guy that's going to tell your story. That's one of my big things. I hear somebody talking about somebody else. I say, is that your story to tell? No. Or if people ask me for things because they want to gossip about something, I say, not my story to tell, man. And I'm not going to get into that with you. It's not your business kind of thing, and they get it without me saying it's not your business, man. If I just simply say my story to tell, you know what I mean? I'm not being such an ass about it, but they get the point. And if I'm going to be on the peer support, I can't be at the kitchen table talking shit about somebody who's not there because I lose my credibility. So over the years, I built all that trust and influence, and it's paid off. I've had several people over the years that have that called me various times, dark times, and they had the trust to reach out. So one of them.
And you mentioned that in your book.
Yes, sir.
And it was a really great chapter in that really good section of how you were actually shocked that you're his chief and he's reaching out to you. And it wasn't because he didn't have anywhere to turn, but it was because you taught him that, hey, if you need me, I'm here for you. Whether I'm a chief, whether I'm a private, it doesn't matter. I'm here for you. In the book, you described that is how at first you were so shocked that this guy the first thing he did was pick up the phone and called you because you told him, I'm here for you, brother. If you need it, I'll be there.
But how many times do we say, man, I'm here for you, brother? And then later on, you find out somebody was going through something and they didn't reach out. And you're like, well, why didn't you call me, man? And I've had people from the PMC world took their own lives. I had people back from when I was in the military take their own lives. And it's like, what are you doing? We're right here, And so every time somebody's called me, it does shock me a little bit because, of course, for one thing, I'm getting ready to do Thanksgiving dinner and we're getting a phone call, or it's 2 or 3 in the morning and my phone just went off, and now I'm all of a sudden in the middle of it with somebody in a parking lot with a pistol in their lap, and they won't tell me where they are. So you can't get police over there or whatever else. So it's just you and this person. And I know at the end of the day that whatever choice they make is their choice, but you still feel a degree of ownership with that. How could you not? And so I push material out all the time. I push the material out fairly constantly. about peer support and that kind of stuff. And I'm very transparent about the fact that I went through this stuff. The guy that I talk about in that book, I don't tell his name. I don't get into that kind of stuff. And he is very vocal about it. He tells people in the station here all the time, about where he was at, what he did, and how I helped him, and this, that, and the other thing. I've never shared this story and with his name involved or anything like that, but he's very open. So he still works for us. Fantastic employee. But beyond that, he's a good friend.
I love it. And that's like you also, again, would refer back to the book, is you talk about building those relationships. You mentioned how you had some of your leads say, like, am I supposed to be buddies with these guys? And well, yeah, you got to develop a bond. Doesn't mean you have to go out for beers with every night with them or something, but you got to show them that you care. You can't just be the hard-nosed boss.
And the worst thing is the bigger city departments, they use that excuse all the time. When I'm out and they're like, yeah, but you're in a 50-man department. I got 1,500 freaking people. Am I supposed to like be friends with everybody, man? And it's like, no, bro, why don't you start with the 5 to 7 that you administratively supervise that are closest to you? You take care of those people. And just like the incident command system, they go take care of their 5 or 7. Then they go out and take care of their 5 or 7. And then guess what? You can even take care of the freaking rookies and probies.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can hit everybody, but everybody just take care of your little nexus, your group, the ones that you're ultimately most accountable to and for. And if you'll do that, it will make the biggest improvement in every single department out there. And it is doable. We do it on the commands. We do it in the incident command all the time. We manage incredibly large scenes with tons of people sporadically over miles and miles, and it works. We know that it works. Just apply it in the house.
But that's carrying that positivity just starts trickling down. It's the same thing with negative attitudes, right? If you can be negative to the 5 people, and those 5 people can be negative to another 5 people, and it'll just continue on. But spreading that positivity, like you just said, that's easier, and it's so much fun to do, as opposed to being a dickhead your whole life, and then you're just you're just mean to be around, and nobody wants to talk to you, and it just filters on down. So
it does every day. Our department's expectations speak to that. So we have 3 daily expectations. They're called our 360 degree expectations. And it's don't be an asshole, give a shit, step up. And
I love it.
I think if you can apply that every day, then all of our workforces would be a whole lot better. So I call it a 360 because I told the team, I said, look, here's how it's going to work. If I see a firefighter that isn't living up to these, I'm going to call them on it on the spot. But I expect you to do the same thing to me. If I come in here and I'm not meeting our own department's expectations, I mean, asshole, give a shit, step up, then I expect you to call me on the carpet about it. Oh, what happened was I was in the kitchen one day and we had a visitor come into the station. The guy was being a bit of a jerk, and I'm a human being. And so I had a moment where I was not meeting our expectations. And there was a firefighter sitting at the kitchen table having breakfast. And so when this guy turned around and left the department a little bit ticked off about our conversation, we had a little talk he didn't enjoy. And the firefighter sitting there goes, Chief, you doing okay? I said, yeah, I'm all right. Why? He said, hey, you don't seem yourself. I said, that dude rubbed me the wrong way. He said, yeah, you seem like you're having a difficult time coming down off that conversation. I'm like, yeah, man, what's your point? He said, well, I can't help but notice you're not meeting our department's expectations. And you said if we're not meeting the department's expectations and we don't feel like we can live up to those 3 things, then we need to go home. He said, do you think you need to go home? And he meant it all tongue in cheek. He meant it a little bit, poked the bear a little, right? And I said, brother, you're right. And I said, I'm going to take leave and I'm going to go home. But before I do, don't move. I went upstairs and I have these coins, a fire chief has their coin, and I've got the Mufasa coin from the book. And I don't give them out to everybody, but I give them out to people when they deserve it. And when they do something, they step up, and all. And I went down and I said, man, you're living our expectations. You called me on it. It's got to be the hardest person in the department to call on it. Here you go, brother. We did the handshake, side hug, the proper way to give a coin. And I went home.
I've got to love that.
How to model it if I want my people to follow it, right? Because people follow your feet a lot more than they follow your words. So what I
love about that, though, is he was comfortable enough, though, to have that conversation with you without fear. And you said a little tongue in cheek. It was probably a little ball busting here and there, but that he was comfortable to say, hey, respectfully, Chief, like, you You're not doing what you're telling us that we need to do. And that's, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are afraid to say that to their chiefs or to their captains and whomever. So it takes a lot of balls, but the fact that you made an environment to be acceptable, to be able to call anybody out that's not doing your expectations, it's not living up to those standards. That's impressive. That, you know, it's a safe culture, it's a safe place for everyone to be able to speak up and say, I don't think you're doing what you should be doing, regardless of rank.
And that only comes from an investment and relationship capital, right? So it only comes from investing that time in people, stopping and chatting with them, asking them about their families, going beyond the superficial bullshit. You know, what are you working on this week? How can we help you out? You know, that kind of stuff. Doesn't have to be anything major. Doesn't need to be a deep dive every time, but just what's going on in your life? How's things going at home? You know, get to know their wife, kids' names, you know, if you can, especially your 5 core people. Like I said, 5 to 7 people, but investing in them, that's the only way that you're going to turn your culture around and create a culture of trust. So you have that influence so that they'll be willing to call you on the carpet when they need to. Man, I do not want a room full of yes men. I don't want a room full of people telling me how great I am. All of our captains and above are in our round table. I talk about it in the book there, but all of us are on a round, we call it the round table. And that's when we're creating a policy, when we're doing anything, everything gets vetted through the round table. So we all make decisions instead of just me cascading my goals to the bottom. So these things are important to us. And all of us have that heart of servant leadership, which is, you know, we're going to go out there, we're going to take care of people. We're going to build that relationship capital. We build relationship capital with stakeholders in the department first, then our citizens, and everybody feels it. Everybody feels it. Just like somebody has a shitty day, they come in and crap on somebody, that gets, you know, the pay it forward concept, right? I've heard recently it was described as we infect each other. And that's 100% right. We infect and affect each other, and it can be positive or negative.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like one of my mottos that I have up there is passion is contagious, infect your crew, you know, is 100%, right? Like it's the same thing with both worlds, negativity and positivity or passion. Like it's infectious. Smiles are infectious. When you have somebody laughing, when a baby is laughing at something ridiculous, it's infectious, right? You just can't help but laugh. They're just having fun. They're loving life. It's a beautiful thing. And I think when people are passionate about the job that we do and you show that passion to others, it's infectious. They eventually also want to follow that. So like if you're out in the bay, like I preach a lot about, like if I'm having a slow day and, you know, I'm going to get some reps throwing a ladder or doing some hose evolutions, I'll be in the bay. If people don't want to join me because they're busy, eventually they get curious and then you start making it. Then they come out and then they start, hey, let me show you this, or can you show me something? And all of a sudden, boom, they're infected. They're infected by that passion. They're infected by the positivity. If you're negative and you're always leaving that negative life, that's infecting them in that manner, and they're not going to follow you into the bay and be curious about what you're doing. They're going to be like, oh, thank God Mike went to the bay to leave us alone so we don't have to listen to him bitch all day. So let's not go out there.
Positive, negative, any of those things are a choice. And that's what people need to know. You don't have to be stuck in a bad mood. You don't have to be stuck in, hey, I got crap going on at home. You don't have to be stuck in, I don't like the culture at work. You change it. It's a choice. You start with the passion. You start with the positivity. It does. It draws people. It draws people in. You're right.
Yeah, you have to leave the shit at the door, and it's blunt, right? But it's really like it's hard to do. You know, you leave the house angry. You know, the wife broke something, or the kids didn't clean up their room, or you know, you tripped on something on the way out, and it just sets you off, and then it'll set your tone for the morning. But as soon as you get to that threshold of that fire station, you have to leave it there. And then when you get back in your truck, if you need to carry on, cool, you can go home and deal with whatever's going on. But your crew doesn't deserve you being in a shitty mood because your household was in disarray.
Yeah. It's called a domestic spillover. So you get into arguments at home with somebody or whatever, and you carry it to work with you. And what we need to remember, though, is that goes both ways. So if you are in a negative, toxic culture at work, or you're with a crew you don't like, any of those kind of things, or somebody rubs you in the wrong way at work, also don't carry that shit home, because again, it's cyclic, right? So we carry that home, and then for the next 48, 72 hours, we're crapping on our people, and those are the most important people in your life. Love the crew, love the team, all that kind of stuff. But at some point, the goal is I'll retire from here, you know, but it's what we do at the time in between.
So now, did you always want to be a firefighter?
Yes, yes. I always wanted to be a firefighter ever since I was a kid. And when I had the opportunity in the Air Force to cross train into EOD for a bit, I still loved being a firefighter, but it was like I could have this whole other wild skill set, and I was volunteering for about everything I could get my hands on. I was, have some rough relationship issues, this, that, and the other thing. And I just wanted to fill my time with whatever I could. So that was cool. And then luckily, in the Air Force, the fire department was short staffed. So they ended up asking all of us, "Hey, anybody who's a former firefighter, just kind of reaching out if you guys want to go back into the fire department. They're letting it, they're trying to recruit people back in." And I was like, "Yipper, I'll do that."
So you had previous experience before going to military?
No, I went in the military when I was 17. Parents had to sign me in. I graduated early.
And so then when you came back, you were doing some volunteer stuff?
No, I just did 10 years in the Air Force. And while I was in, I cross trained
Trained, okay.
into another AFSC or job series, and then went back into the fire department. So I was only in EOD for like maybe 2 years. I mean, it was pretty much training, and then not long after, a couple deployments.
And what is it like being I always feel like it's like two separate worlds. You have the fire service in the military, and then when you have the fire service in the residential areas, your typical bread and butter type of fire service. What's that like? Are they the same? Because sometimes when people come when they've left the military and they've been a firefighter there and they come into us, it is a different world for them.
Yeah, we have different terminology for things. For instance, your lieutenant on the truck for us would be called a crew chief. So there's some terminology differences. It's like the people that go, "Oh, blue card, it's the worst thing in the world." You know what I mean? And it's like, it doesn't work here because the terminology. Well, tweak the terminology. I mean, I don't want to get into all that because I know that's a firestorm right there. But you get the point.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
a lot of times, things are really not as different as we make them out to be. We may just have to bespoke. We may just have to modify. We may just have to tweak it to fit what we're doing, right? So some of the differences for us when you're in the military, you'll get 17, 18, 19-year-olds, working for the DoD like I do now that we're civilians, but we're still working on a military installation. We're federal civil service. So our guys are coming from having been in the military for 4, 5, 6 years. And so it is extremely uncommon for us to get 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. We're getting somebody who's 25 years old. They've already been places. They've done things. They've seen things. Some of the differences are on a military installation, we have aircraft. Some installations have Navy ships. So we have to be airport certified, and those people have to be shipboard certified. We are all confined space and high angle certified. My guys are all hazmat techs. My team's got airport firefighter. Even my firefighters, for instance, are not separate firefighters and engineers. My guys are all firefighter engineers. So they're all certified as driver operator, pumper, ARF, and ARF is airport firefighting, airport rescue firefighting, and then aerial. So we have an aerial. So they have to be certified in all three of those just to be a firefighter. They have to be nationally registered, come in the door. So there's certain things that are different. We don't run a rookie school. We don't have probies. So those are some differences. But our installations oftentimes have munitions, hazardous materials, and things that a city doesn't typically have to contend with.
What's a normal day like? What kind of calls would you guys go on to?
A lot of medicals, but we're also mutual aid with the 7 different jurisdictions that touch the installation. So we do a lot of mutual aid. Most of our fires are mutual aid. If we have a fire on base, it's typically going to be room and content because all these structures on our installation are concrete and steel. They're all type 1, type 2, sprinkled, you know. So if we're going to get a real gnarly, like blowing and going house fire, dorm fire, apartment fire, something like that, that's all going to be off base mutual aid. Typically, we're right here. So we're on scene pretty fast. We have a 6-mile radius for the installation. Like it's 6 miles. It encumbers a 6-mile radius. And so we can make our response times better than 90% of the time, And so we're knocking them out room and contents. So we do a mutual aid with Lockheed, it's the runway here. And they've had a pretty gnarly hangar fire that we went on not too long ago. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. And of course, there's the potential. So if aircraft ever do go up in our hangars, I mean, it's pretty bad when it does. And we've had a couple aircraft crashes out here before too. So those are things that the
And
average fire really doesn't have to mess with.
no, absolutely not. And then like you said, you were all trained for that specific incident. And, for us, it's going to be a completely different beast altogether. So now does any of your your family? Is your parents, were they in the fire service or military as well? Did you follow suit from somebody?
I did. Every male member of my family served in the military.
Which branches? All the same branches, or?
My father, my brother, and I were all Air Force, but my uncles and them kind of varied: Army, Marine, Air Force, a little bit of mix of everybody. But my father, my brother, and I were all Air Force. And now I work for the Navy.
That's
I switched
fantastic.
up.
And then anybody in your family, did they give you that bug for the fire service side? Because you seemed like you're really excited about it. When I asked you, like, do you always want to be a firefighter? And you're like, yes. So was
Yeah, I
there
wanted to be a
something that,
firefighter since I was a kid. I don't know where the hell I got it from. I have nobody in my family that's been in the fire department. I am it. But ever since I was a kid, man, ever since I was little, I called it that I wanted to be a firefighter. And then my dad, he was a chief master sergeant, so he was as high as he can go as an enlisted guy in the Air Force. And he was stationed over in Germany, so I was living over in Germany. And he took me around to all these different jobs on the base, and I got to meet people who were air traffic controllers, and I got to meet the cops, and I got to meet, the firefighters and everybody else. And that just cemented the whole thing right there. I was like, oh, they have the best equipment. They were all having fun when I went over there to talk to those guys. Like, it was set in stone, man. It was happening. Never a doubt.
so was it like looking at the camaraderie, and like you said, like the big red trucks and all that stuff? It just really it snapped with you. It was like, yep, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, we went over there. They were hanging out in the kitchen, cooking food together, the same thing that we do to this day, man. And that was like 89 or 90 before I had graduated. I graduated in 91. And so people are going, he's old AF. Yeah, he is. I'm 52.
You don't look at like it, my friend. Like you, it's incredible about we always talk about health and maintenance and being our physically best in the fire service. So obviously you're doing that. Do you also do that with your guys? How do you get people to do buy-in of physical fitness as well? Because some people are like, yeah, I want to do it. Other people are like, nope, I'll do my own thing. I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah. We don't do anything as a group. So we don't do like group calisthenics. We don't meet up in the stall floors workout per se. We have a gym that's right outside the station that's kind of a standalone. Really, it just, again, we have a culture buy-in, and they're bought in at every level, man. So, but of course we have some they're more stellar than others in that department, in that category or that section of life, that are very fitness focused. But I don't have anyone that's a concern health wise, if you will.
With being on the base, is there a requirement, especially if you have guys coming in from being military? I imagine it's pretty structured or rigid about what your physical fitness level is going to be anyways.
Yeah, we have our peer fitness assessors that go to school for that kind of stuff, and they come back and give us training on education. They have a cycle that they run us through every year to make sure we can do it. And then we have our medical physical that we do every year, of course, where they do our blood and blood pressures and sugar levels, whatever else, all the regular medical blood work kind of stuff. They do all that. And we get the same physicals that the pilots do, believe it or not. So it's a little more invasive than what the average person gets.
That's awesome. I love that you guys are still keeping up with that. And like it's, having that buy-in, that culture of making sure that we're ready to do our job, and regardless of, if it's a naval base or, a typical firehouse in the city. So you guys, we're doing the same thing, having standards.
We're doing the same kind of stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Our calls may be a little different. We may call things different names, but we're all same team, one fight. We say that a lot, but we do a lot of mutual aid. And then I work for Teeks, so part-time. I'm in and out of civilian fire departments all the time, and I'm having dinner at their stations, and I'm hanging out with them all week long while I'm there teaching. So I'm kind of immersed in that world. And I bring a lot of those concepts here to our installation. And then some of the stuff that we do, I bring to other places, and I share my policies and procedures, all that kind of stuff. With others that might need it, just look at it as one big industry, and we're all a part of it. We just do little different things, but we're all equally important. It's one of the reasons that when people say like, oh man, I was going to serve, but, I didn't, I went into the fire service. I'm like, what the hell do you mean? Like, whether you're military, police, fire, medical field, you're serving the frickin' public, and you are serving in your capacity, in your way. You're doing the same thing. The only difference is we took a different type of oath. And yes, we were in austere environments where people were shooting at us, but how many fire departments do you go to where people have been shot at, and firefighters have been shot at, medics have been shot at, so
Yeah.
none of us are any better than others. I talk about that in the chapter where I talk about just, well, I didn't serve. I just went in the fire department. Hell, you did, man. You went into the fire department, and that's fantastic. That's how you're serving, and you're still serving. And thank you for your service. And, firefighters oftentimes, when I say that to them, they're like, hey, you're the military guy, and I'm like, yeah, but you're serving as well. I don't like when people categorize the military's up here and then fire departments, and then cops are kind of, and of course cops with the donuts, but for the rest of us, we're up there at the top. Any cops watching, disclaimer, the C.A.N report does not approve of my comments, brothers.
It's funny that you talk about this. So I have a conversation with my wife all the time when we go travel we're in the airport, and I'm not bashing anything. So anybody who's listening or watching, I'm not bashing anything, but the military, they get to seat, they get priority seating. I always was surprised, like you said, we're doing the same thing. We have a service, we're providing a service. So I was always like, how come they don't do that for first responders? What is it different? What's different of us that we can't be in the same category? And again, like you said, there's a huge difference of honestly, with going out into these horrendous environments across seas, serving our country where you're not going to be seeing your family for a very, very, very long time. But as you said, at the same time, though, it's also, we're both providing a very good, strong service. So what's the separation?
I guess it's just their way of trying to honor the military folks. I mean,
yeah, I'm not bashing trust, but I always thought it was funny. Exactly. if I was in my class A, waiting to board a plane, and there was somebody else in military uniform, which someone look at that guy and go, right, yeah. So I always thought it was interesting. It was always a topic that just came up my mind. Not that I'm not jealous or bitter or anything like that. I always thought it was interesting that there is that thanking people for their service. Thank you for serving our country. Please go ahead and have a seat, as opposed to, thank you for serving my city or my town. You'll
look at it this way. They're just hurrying up and waiting, just like they're used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're playing longer now because Wayne's still standing in line, but now I'm sitting in this not so comfy seat for an extra 20 minutes because I boarded in category A or some bullshit.
I love it. It's a very positive way to look at it. And again, for everybody listening and watching, it was just a question always pops up in my head. So, but I do love it.
The head of American Airlines and Southwest probably just haven't thought of it that way yet, or something.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
No, I think it's great.
That's why, to me, I mean, honestly, I tell people all the time I'll be teaching a class for TEEX or whatever. Oh, Chief, you were in the military. Yeah. Thank you for your service. Like, well, thank you for yours. And like I said, almost every time it's a confused look on their face. Like, well, I actually didn't serve. I was gonna. All right, stop right there. You are serving right now today. So yeah, I've had that mentality for quite some time myself.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love that you say it too. It's just, we're really doing the same thing. And like I always tell people is that it's just like the military, police, fire, EMS. It's not easy. Not everyone can do the job. That's why, honestly, that's in majority of places we're in a deficit for firefighters and for medics, because it's not easy. It's not glamorous. And we are at the physical aspect of it and the mental aspect of it. That's why there's a lot of people not signed up to do the job, because not everyone can, even if they want to, they don't pass the tests, right? So they have the heart for it, they have the passion for it, but physically they can't do it. This job is not for everybody. So
a lot of people have a hard time swallowing that pill, but I don't see them putting wheelchair lifts on the engines for the drivers anytime soon. It is what it is. Like, certain jobs you just can't do. I had nubs for hands. I'm not going to make a great typist. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a mute, you wouldn't make a very good air traffic controller. That's reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And there was actually, we touched a little bit about PTSD and overcoming things. In your book, you talked about a serious call that you had where you were literally drowning, and you talked about how you were an active surfer. You loved surfing. And then after that, you couldn't do it anymore. Talk about that real quick.
Man, I'd rather not. Just read the damn book.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Well,
let
me ask you this then. Have you gotten back on the board? That was really what I was going for. Have you gotten back on it?
And Mike, honestly, man, 100%. I have dry sense of humor. I was just teasing. I don't mind talking about it at all. It did. It took a while for me to get back on it, but honestly, I'm still nowhere near where I was before. And there are still times that if I try and open the door that should just open and it sticks for just a second, I'll get a quick, brief, just shock of like, oh gosh, I can't get myself out of this. It's so fast. a seatbelt that doesn't unlock right immediately. Oh gosh, I'm stuck. And then of course nightmares here and there and stuff like that. So I'm not completely over it. I don't think that I ever will be. That's what PTSD doesn't go away, but it's manageable, and of course I just take a breath for a second and retry the door or the belt or the seat belt or whatever. But no, it's never been the same. Tried and tried and tried, but I've lost the love for it.
Gotcha. The reason why I asked is because I had that definitely big extreme differences, but I had lost my passion for the fire service for quite some time with my previous work relationship from my previous department. And when I read that, that's it. Again, the extremes are it's very different, but I felt that way. Like when you talked about like I couldn't get on that board. I loved surfing. It was all I ever did. I'd go out all the time, and it made me think about my time when I was struggling mentally with what I'm doing in my life. And I really started to hate the fire service, and I started to resent it, and was really in a dark place. Like I wasn't having fun. Like in your book, you said I had fun doing this, and I literally have no fun. I have no joy in that. And that was for a long time how I felt. So that's why I was asking, like, getting back on that board, you can't, but you also still found your passion though. Still, you're here leading the fire service. You're still here leading your team.
Yeah.
Overcoming these hard times and writing and being so raw in this book. And that's like why I developed my platform is I want people to have a voice and to be able to talk about their struggles. And I want to know how they've overcome them. So for you, you've definitely overcome a lot of these issues. And you're so open in it that I want people to understand what he's coming from, where Mufasa is coming from, what he's dealing with. And he has some great information about how to overcome some of these issues. And again, it's not a leadership book. And that's why I keep reverting to the book, because I've been chipping away at it, I've seen reading a lot of great things in here. And it's not, you have to do these things this way. It's just an idea that you've come up with and from your struggles and your successes in life.
Yes, sir. It's one of those, it's as simple as, hey, this is what worked for me. Try it. Don't try it. It's okay. But this is what worked for me. And every book ever written was written behind that principle. This is what worked for me. And that's why I wanted it as bare bones, raw, authentic, and transparent as I could possibly be, because some of these concepts can be complex. Some of them can be hard to navigate through. And if there's any way that I can take a lesson that might tie in closely, like here, I'm talking about drowning. And Mike here, Mike Goldstein's like, hey, that reminded me of this toxic culture that I was in. And I mean, what a better compliment could I get today on the book? Because here's somebody, it's affecting exactly how I wanted it to be. This is exactly why I was that raw. It's exactly why I described it in the detail that I did, because I wanted it to reach somebody. I had no idea that it would reach out to you and speak to you about a toxic culture. But a toxic culture can feel like you're drowning. I talk about
Absolutely.
it in the book a little bit there too. I don't make that comparison, but I do talk a lot about pulling up in the parking lot, seeing certain cars and trucks and things like that. And for you, I would just say, obviously that's such a huge reflection on that department and those people in that department, because here you are excelling in your current department, right?
Yes,
How
sir.
much more in your face can that be to that other department? You're excelling, you're kicking. Exactly. And the problem with it is they took your passion, and don't bullies do this? Think about it in any walk of life. A bully finds the thing that you're excited about and they make you feel like shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a toxic work environment and you want to come in and be passionate about the job, and you want to come in for them, for the citizens, and you want to come in and you want to do a better job. You want to go above the minimums. You want to step up. That's what they're going to do. They're going to make you feel like shit for doing that. Oh, you're a kiss ass. You're a yes man. Look at you, man. Look at you always in there with the Chiefs, or whatever. They're just trying to make you feel like shit because you're passionate about it, and your passion makes them look like shit. Your passion makes them look like who they are. That's
Absolutely.
it.
I love it. It's totally it, man. I absolutely 100%. And then that's what's great about reading books, man, is it's not, you don't have to take everything as what, like you said, like your life that you just experienced. If it resonates in a different way, that's how you read these books and interpret these books, and any book really. Like it's great to be able to open up your mind and understand where the author's coming from, and like, man, in an indirect way, I felt that. And that's exactly when you talked about the surfing, I felt that. And that's why I wanted to talk about that, because I literally, as soon as I read that sentence to you, I didn't want to get on that board again. I couldn't surf again. I felt like that was surfing for me. I didn't want to get on that board again. I was literally looking at anything else in life, didn't know where I wanted to go. And I was at that point, I was going to give it up. And for people who are curious, like, you can get back on that board. You can go surfing again. It's going to take some time, whether you have PTSD of something you saw, but also within the workplace PTSD, because it's pretty prominent now, honestly, and people are so afraid to speak up about their toxic work relationships and bad leaderships. And I'm pretty open about what I've dealt with, and I don't name names and I don't go into grave details because I still have respect for people who still work there. But you can get back on the surfboard. You don't have to. And I developed this platform because I want people to do that. But you don't have to have a platform. You can be the positive, like we talked about before, that positive, infectious person. You can get away from that negative environment and then go to somewhere else and be positive, because now you're in a good place. People will see that. And that's what helped me to get back on my board with the department that I'm at. They saw something in me and they're like, man, you're always happy. You're always really just getting into it and going to trainings and always smiling. Like, why is that? I go, well, and I started explaining about where I came from. And now I'm here somewhere where you guys respect me and value me. So everybody who's listening or watching, there is life after toxic work relationships. And that's not what this book is completely about either. It's literally just about being there, treating people right, and how you take it in his literature. Samson, Chief DeSessa, is doing great things. And I absolutely really do enjoy reading this book, sir.
I'm honored, man. Seriously, humbled and honored. With so many people are getting value from it. I just wanted to be another tool for people's toolbox.
Yep, absolutely. Where are you going to be next? Where can people find you?
I am speaking at Leadership Development Symposium 2026 in San Marcos. Next June, it looks like I'll be speaking at the Texas State Firefighter and Fire Marshal Association, the SFFMA training conference. And I teach for TEACs. So I teach Officer 1 through 4 classes for IPSEC certification, Pro Board certification, that kind of thing.
All right. And the book is available on Amazon. You can find it there. And the Brotherhood is a verb, not just another damn leadership book right there. Anybody's curious, please pick it up. You're not going to be disappointed with this one. It's really about him. It's about his life. It's about the struggles and overcoming them and being successful, overcoming those hard times in life. So please, everyone, if you can, pick it up. You'll like it. It's a very refreshing book. I really do enjoy it very much, sir. And I'm still plugging away, but I'll eventually finish it. But I appreciate you being on the C.A.N Report, Chief. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we wind up?
No, sir. I just again, to me, if people would just focus on, don't be an asshole, give a shit, step up. Every day when you come into the job, you will make the fire industry as a whole a better place. Because, I mean, that's the very fabric from which we're all cut, right?
Yes, sir. I love it. All right. Well, with that being said, actually, since we're talking about Next Rung, or not Next Rung, but mental health, I just want to also talk about Next Rung. I'm always love giving them shout outs. Next Rung. If your guys are seeking help, if you need somewhere to go to talk to, please reach out to Next Rung. They are doing fantastic things for everybody in the first responder field. They have a number that you guys can call. So you can call 833-NXT-RUNG. That's 833-698-7864. Text support to speak with a peer support provider. Text info to learn more about their organization. So they will help you set up appointments. If you don't know where to go, they'll find it for you. If you don't know how to book an appointment, they'll do it for you. They want you to get the help. So the first step of getting help is talking about it and reaching out. If you don't feel comfortable with somebody in the firehouse, or if they don't have answers for you, then Next Rung's it, man. So please reach out to Next Rung. The barcode's right there. We need you in this world. Just like the Chief said, we want you in this world. You're worth it. So please stick around and be with us. So check out Next Rung or anything that's available in your firehouses that will help you get the mental rest and help that you need. So that being said, Chief Mufasa DeSessa, thank you so much. I do love the nickname, though. I'm glad now that you are proud of it. It is a badass nickname for sure. It really does. It suits you with the mustache and the muscles.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
So, all right. So with that being said, y'all take care, be well, and Mazel Tov. That was a good one.